always believed in God. When I was younger, I would go to our congregation, and I grew up hearing the wonderful stories of the Bible. But my search for identity led me to rebel in my teenage years, and music became my identity. And not just any music. I was involved in punk rock. At one point, I even had blue hair and played a pink bass guitar. But I ended up living a double life. I would go to our congregation, I would say the prayers, I would sing the songs, and then afterwards I would go and get drunk. I would go to parties, I would mess around with girls. I was a hypocrite. My parents were both born and raised in Zimbabwe. My father comes from a traditional Jewish household, and they had fled Poland to escape the Shoah. My mother comes from a traditional, nominal Christian background, and her ancestors had left England and Scotland and come to Zimbabwe seeking a better life. The summer after my 16th birthday proved to be the turning point in my life. It started by me going to a Christian festival, and I really experienced the presence of God there. Shortly afterwards, I was at a different congregation, and I felt God speaking directly to me through the message. At the end of the service, I went forward and the pastor prayed that I would experience God's presence and that I would know His Holy Spirit, and I definitely felt God there. In the weeks that followed, I started reading a book on the meaning of life, and I remember being very, very angry at the author because he claimed that he knew what the meaning of life was. I remember thinking to myself, who does this guy think he is? Nobel Peace Prize winners, not even Einstein knows what the meaning of life is. But the more I read the book, the more I started to accept his premise that we were created to bring glory and honor to God in everything that we did, in every aspect of our lives. I realized that God was speaking to me through the book, and it was as if He was saying to me, Aaron, at the moment you're running around in circles, wasting your life. If you want to be the person I've made you to be, if you want to run straight towards the goal, then you need to follow me. Identity. I was about to find exactly what I'd been looking for. At the same time, God showed me very clearly that I needed to be forgiven. So I asked Yeshua to forgive me. I realized that He was the one who died for all of the junk in my life, for all of the wrong things I'd done, for all of the sin, and that God had raised Him from the dead in order to give me new life. The next day, I woke up a completely different person. Before, when I tried praying, I felt that my prayers only just hit the ceiling. But then when I prayed, I felt like I was talking with someone who was in the same room as me. Before, when I tried to read the Bible, it was an old, dusty, irrelevant book. But then when I read the Bible, it was like the words were jumping off the page at me. It was speaking relevantly, directly into my life. I'd finally discovered who God made me to be. I gave up my old identity. The posters came down, the CDs went in the bin. Since then, I've discovered who I am, and I realized that my identity as a Jew who believes in Jesus is bound up in the identity of my Messiah. Rav Shaul, a first century Messianic Jew, puts it this way: I have been crucified with the Messiah. I no longer live, but the Messiah lives in me. And the life that I live in this body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loves me and who gave Himself for me. I know who I am. What about you?